the biggest of venues in Indiana for an Olympic trials, and the crowd may be pushing Lily King faster and faster here to the wall, and the Hoosier will get it done at home.
Whether it's Evansville Olympic swimming gold medalist Lily King touching the wall first at the Olympic swim trials.
3 seconds left. Colts down by a point. 3 receivers to the left. Ryan throws down the near sideline looking for Alec Pierce. He's got it! Touchdown! Touchdown! Alec!
Or another Hoosier, the radio voice of the Colts, Matt Taylor, stirring up excitement at a Colts game. Or Taylor Swift, wrapping up her epic global concert tour. Lucas Oil Stadium General Manager Eric Neuburger has had a front row seat to it all. We catch up with him to find out what it takes to run the largest venue in the state of Indiana on this edition of the Business and Beyond podcast presented by PNC. And I'm pleased to be joined on the podcast this week by a very busy man, the general manager at Lucas Oil Stadium, Eric Neuburger. Eric, how are you?
I'm doing great, Gary. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. You know, I can't think of too many more people who have as many things going on as you do. So many events, so many kinds of events, far beyond the high-profile Colts, obviously, for a few Sundays in the fall. Give us an idea. I mean, like right now, what do you have going on? You mentioned before we got set up where we might hear a few whistles. You got a big volleyball tournament, right?
That's right. We've got USA Volleyball's Junior National Championships going on here at Lucas Oil Stadium and also at the Convention Center next door. But here in the building, we've got 22 volleyball courts with girls from around the country in Indianapolis playing their favorite sport.
Give us an idea, because it would take a while, I think, but give us a thumbnail description of Lucas Oil Stadium. I mean, everyone knows Lucas Oil as the home of the Indianapolis Colts and obviously Final Fours and some of the big time events. But give us an idea of how busy a place Lucas Oil is year round.
This place is busy. I always describe it as we're a stadium that operates much more like a much smaller arena in terms of volume of events that come through here. When we look at events, we try to find things that are obviously operationally smart, but that bring the kind of attention and the travelers to Indianapolis and really have that economic impact. And of course, also drive the brand of Indianapolis and Indiana as a place to be.
Yeah. Can you give us an idea? You don't have to get into specifics if you can't, but in terms of the economic impact, because, you know, in terms of these events, it brings in visitors, it brings eyeballs, it brings a lot of attention, a lot of dollars to downtown Indianapolis in particular.
Yeah, it does. If you think about it, especially the larger events that we do, people are traveling. So they're arriving in our airport. They're then taking a car or an Uber to their hotel. They're eating at our restaurants. They're enjoying all of the robust activities that Central Indiana has to offer. And that's really the economy that we like to be the leader of and to bring people to town and to contribute to the community in that way.
How many events? Do you have a number, an approximate number? How many events does Lucas Oil host? And that would get into sporting events and conventions, all kinds of things. How many events do you host a year?
We're fired up for nearly 200 event days a year. So we have things like conventions and trade shows, as you mentioned, that are part of a big citywide strategy. Our most important client, that's the Indianapolis Colts, but then all the other great sporting events that we bring to town. And then we really work hard to find those entertainment opportunities for the people that live here and the people that travel in for concerts and other sporting entertainment events.
Again, a wide range of events. And what has always amazed me is the flexibility and the adaptability, I guess, that you and your team there at Lucas Oil have to put these events on. And the one event that really stands out to me, there have been so many, but the one event that really stands out to me is the 2024 U.S. Olympic swim trials. And building Olympic pools inside an NFL stadium to host this really high-profile event seems like a crazy idea, but Indianapolis not only did it, but pulled it off in flying colors.
Yeah, that one is a really meaningful event to me. I've been involved in the sport, but in that particular event as far back as volunteering in 1992, and to see it evolve into the opportunity to be in an NFL stadium for the first time ever, that was amazing. And I credit the vision of USA Swimming and their leadership to trust us with that important event. But then this community, there's no other community in the country that could have put together the complete package that made that such an iconic event. And we're so lucky because we've been awarded the event again for 2028, and we're really looking forward to exceeding those expectations that are now very high.
Yeah, yeah, and you mentioned the trust. I wonder if there's any other city that would have been entrusted with doing this kind of thing. I mean, I think it was probably the Indianapolis brand, the Indianapolis reputation that gave USA Swimming the willingness to say, "Yeah, let's do this."
That is so true. I mean, it is no coincidence that we are the place that are trusted to complete the entire March Madness and during the pandemic. It's no coincidence that we're going to be the first in many years to host the women's Final Four in a venue of this scale in 2028. And yeah, swimming is probably the prime example. It's a risk for everybody involved to try something that has never been done. And Indianapolis is a place where event owners know that it will be done right.
When it was first suggested, I don't know if you can remember back then when it was first suggested of building Olympic swimming pools inside Lucas Oil Stadium. What was your reaction?
Bring it on. That's how I think about these things. And really, when I arrived in 2017, it couldn't have been any later than mid 2018 that we were doing site visits with USA Swimming. And it had been conceived of, years before and discussed, but it took everybody a while to be comfortable with what could be, and then to start to see it come together. So it's a long process to do something unique like that.
What do you remember? Any stories just in terms of the logistical engineering challenges that presented, and just getting things ready to go? How big of an effort that was?
The planning was everything. I mean, if you think about all the Indiana companies that were involved in making that work, with Shield Sexton helping to cast the overall vision, along with Indiana Sports Corp, obviously, who led the effort to bring it to Indianapolis. But we had Dodd Technologies out of Pendleton, who's doing things all over the world and is putting their expertise on display here in Lucas Oil Stadium. We had Spear, the plumbing group that was integral into making that event work. And then Murtha was an Italian company, but has done a lot of work in Indiana and has a lot of their business located here in Indiana as well.
As you look at, success stories like that, and as you said, the Olympic swim trials are coming back, and I guess they're gonna do the indoor in SoFi Stadium, right? They're gonna do the indoor pools there. So I guess Indianapolis is getting copied in that regard.
Yeah, I did not find it coincidental that SoFi and the Olympics in LA announced that they would be hosting the Olympic swimming at SoFi Stadium during the trials after a few days had gone by that they could see that it worked. They do have a lot of challenges in LA to try to figure out how to do it all in SoFi Stadium, but I have no doubt that us helping to set that precedent gave them the confidence to try to do something that had never been done.
Yeah, yeah, and one other thing in terms of these unique events, and you mentioned it briefly a moment ago, and that's hosting the entirety of March Madness. Again, just an audacious idea, I think, to come up with it, and then for Indianapolis to pull it off it was incredible. It was a monumental feat. What do you remember about that time, the challenges, and being able to pull it off?
Obviously, there's a couple of sides to it. There was high anxiety, right? It was really important. If this didn't go well, it would actually detract from all the work that we'd all done over many years to try to make this the place to be. But the planning paid off. The NCAA was a great partner and a great leader. Sports Corp helped make it all work with all the different venues, and we all just buckled down and got it done. And I think only one game didn't happen due to the virus at the time. So it was a complete success story and something that hopefully no one will ever have the opportunity to repeat.
You've got a great crew there, and the turnaround time sometimes for events, if you have to go from one to the other so quickly. What's the fastest turnaround? Any stories in that regard in terms of maybe changing out from a Colts game to a monster truck or something crazy like that?
We do it so regularly, sometimes it's hard to think of what's truly unique. But, I think of going from FFA to a Colts game. When the Colts schedule comes out, we don't necessarily know the exact game time when we're booking the events on either side. So that 4-hour swing, 8-hour swing in one direction or another can really make a big difference in our favor or against us. So sometimes we've been pinched, but this is a really expert technical crew here. We plan everything out. We work with our clients to make sure that every detail is planned for, and we execute. And that's what we want to be known for, and that's what we work hard to keep our reputation on.
Every city wants the big marquee events, and of course, Lucas Oil hosted one of the biggest in the world in the Super Bowl a number of years back. But how tough is the competition? I'm sure it's always been very tough for these big events to go out and win these events. But how much tougher today, in your view, is the competition to get these events? And what are event organizers looking for today that maybe they weren't looking for a few years ago?
Yeah, so we talked about that economic impact, and obviously that has others looking at events the way Indianapolis always has. So the competition is extremely strong, and that's why this community has had to get creative in trying to compete, sometimes financially and otherwise, to try to get the best events to Indianapolis. But when you think about event owners and what are they looking for, it's always trust. They are not looking at cities that they don't trust. So we mentioned that earlier, but it deserves to be said again. Indianapolis has earned that trust. And so we are already at the top of any list when someone's looking to do an event. And then it comes down to things that we can't control, like weather and locations compared to other places around the country. Like those are things we can't control, but we can be a trustworthy partner and we can execute at a really high level. And that's how we've made our name.
And that reputation, I'm sure, goes a long way. As you look at the landscape out there, Eric, more cities are building dome stadiums, so there's added competition there. Cities, there are incentive packages now, I think, that are being offered as well. Give us a thumbnail description of the competitive landscape, how challenging it is out there.
Yeah, we are a 20-year-old venue, but we don't act like it at Lucas Oil Stadium. And we like to think that our use has allowed us to keep up with the Joneses, as you would say. But yeah, we're looking at how the competitive landscape changes. We welcome the competition. We're going to have to compete on other things. And one of the great assets is the way that Indianapolis is laid out in its downtown. And I know we talk about it a lot in this community, but it is so important. That connectivity is unlike any other city. Even these other cities that are building dome stadiums, they're not going to have that. So we need to lean into that. We need to keep investing in things that make our city more connected and making it a place where people want to be and hang out, whether they live here or they're coming from out of town.
As you look at technology, how does technology affect your business? And certainly, artificial intelligence affects everyone. Does that come into play? AI, does that come into play in the event hosting and the stadium management business?
Well, there's software that we use to work on our sustainability goals and other things that are AI driven. But one thing that I think is worth noting, and this is in partnership with the Colts, is the AI app that is in place for Colts games and is also available for other events, where you can ask, where can I get a gluten-free pretzel, if that exists, and it will tell you exactly where in the stadium to go, where to turn your cash into a card for your cashless payment, where the mother's room is, all those different things. And it changes and it's always learning and we're always feeding it more information. It has really impressed me with the way that it has cut down on the time that we have to spend on answering questions that people can find themselves and be more satisfied with how fast they're able to get it that way. So we can focus on the even more unique aspects of the stadium when we're serving our guests.
Yeah, and you look at technology, artificial intelligence, whatever it might be, and the stadium enhancements that need to be made and that are made over the course of time. I remember talking with, I think it was someone from the Colts, and they talked about one of their biggest competitors each week for fans is the big screen TV, at home, and getting fans into the stadium and making that experience in the stadium as good as it can be, whether that's Wi-Fi or, whatever the case might be. Talk about that a little bit. How about the investment that has been made or will be made to make that experience better for the fan?
We have invested a lot in our analytics related to food and beverage. And so AI plays a part in that as well. There is a full-time person in this building that spends her time analyzing all that data so that we can try to improve the speed of service, provide the options in the right places to be able to get people what they want, because you're right. It needs to be as easy as walking to a refrigerator. And so we have implemented grab and goes and other things in the right places with the right food items to really cut down on those lines so that we're able to get people back in their seat where they want to be, in those comfy chairs in Lucas Oil Stadium, watching the exciting activity that you can only get in person. And so we want to make sure that that works. And then, of course, we have invested in Wi-Fi. We have a brand new Wi-Fi system in Lucas Oil Stadium. I think this is the third iteration of it in 20 years. And we are constantly upgrading all of our technology so that the show on the video boards is as perfect as it can possibly be. All those things that make the fan experience great. We want Lucas Oil Stadium to be known as the place you want to see it.
Yeah, how about that connection, if you will, because people think of Lucas Oil, rightfully so. They think of sporting events. They think of the Colts and the Final Fours and the swim trials and any number of sporting events. But that connection that you have, that Lucas Oil has to the convention business, the tourism business in Indianapolis, which is such a massive driver of the Indianapolis area economy. So many dollars come in here. Indianapolis has elevated itself over the years into a top tier, I think, convention city in our country. How about that connection to conventions and how substantial that is?
It is so unique to have a venue of this scale and size connected via just a tunnel underneath one street to a massive convention center. And so visit Indy, Leonard Hoops and Chris Gall, they're such masters at cobbling together all the assets of our city, going out and selling it in such a way that we can be part of it. I mean, this USA Volleyball event is a great example of that, where it is multiple venues in the city that would not be possible without the vision to have that connectivity. And so when we think about conventions, we have conventions booked out to 2040, Gary. That is how important it is as kind of the baseline of what happens in the city, and Lucas Oil Stadium, a big part of it.
When you talk about vision and you think back, something I've always been impressed and amazed at too, is that vision that community leaders had so many years ago, to put everything downtown and to create that connectivity. How important and how fortunate, in your view, is Indianapolis and Indiana to benefit from that vision that, again, that was many, many years ago?
Yeah, it can't be overstated that the people that saw the opportunity of sports and tourism and connectivity for our downtown and for central Indiana really did see something that is the envy of the rest of the country. And I definitely feel very fortunate that this venue is sitting in the middle of downtown. It's just not done. I mean, they're building new stadiums in other parts of the country in suburban areas. Their strategy is not like ours, and ours has really served this community better than any other. I really believe that. This community saw something when others didn't.
Much more ahead with Eric Neuburger, the general manager of Lucas Oil Stadium. We'll talk about his path to his current role and what's next. That's when the Business and Beyond podcast returns.
As a bank, PNC prides itself on being boring. But the truth is they couldn't be more excited to serve the dynamic Indianapolis community. For nearly 160 years, they've quietly toiled away to deliver brilliant results for their equally brilliant clients. They have dedicated PNC teams throughout the local area all ready to do the boring work to help you unlock your own brilliance. PNC Bank, brilliantly boring since 1865. PNC Bank, National Association member FDIC.
We build Indiana. The Laborers International Union of North America are men and women building roads and bridges to get Hoosiers where they're going today and a new energy infrastructure that will keep Indiana competitive tomorrow. LIUNA's over 12,000 statewide members also grow local economies, earning good union wages, shopping where they live and work, and paying taxes. We build Indiana for good jobs and stronger communities. The Laborers International Union of North America. We are LIUNA.
And welcome back to the Business and Beyond podcast presented by PNC. My guest this week is Eric Neuburger. He's the general manager at Lucas Oil Stadium in downtown Indianapolis, one of the nation's premier sports venues, a very busy place indeed. And Eric, in terms of your personal journey, sports, that just wasn't entertainment in your family, right? When did you realize you wanted this might be a career? Your dad, Dale Neuburger, one of my favorite people, had an extraordinary career in sports leadership, headed the Indiana Sports Corporation for years. What influence did he have on where you ended up today?
Well, I was so lucky in many, many ways to have Dale Neuburger as my dad. But one of the ways that I'm fortunate is I got a firsthand view of a lot of things at a young age. So I was volunteering at events in Indianapolis when I was 8, 9 years old. I'm not even sure you're allowed to do that anymore.
Yeah, I was going to say, was that volunteering or was that forced volunteering?
Yeah, babysitting, volunteering, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, really had a great opportunity to be a part of sporting events in Indianapolis from a very young age. So I feel like I have a little bit of history in everything that people talk about today. Like in some cases, I was there, and so that has given me the benefit of years beyond others who may have started their careers in college or beyond that. So very lucky in that way.
Yeah. Was there advice from your dad that still guides you today?
Oh, so much. But I think one of the things that I've learned from him is the power of relationships. One of the things that he's so good at is working with people that come from all over the world and different backgrounds, but they share something in common, and that's a passion for sport and for delivering experiences to athletes and guests. So that's something that I've learned through osmosis and countless conversations about how to work with people to try to accomplish things that you couldn't do on your own.
Yeah. A couple fun questions for you. What's the craziest request you've ever received from an event organizer? I'm sure you get some crazy events requests from time to time. Is there one that really stands out?
Well, they're so common, it is hard to come up with the exceptions. But, of course, we've had things like removing all the mirrors from dressing areas for artists, things like that. But one of the things that really sticks out to me, and it's not necessarily an event owner, but getting a call from the general manager of the Superdome 3 days before the Eras Tour in 2024 saying, hey, we'd like to send this friendship bracelet to you. You think you'd like to use it? And this thing, if you remember, was gigantic. It was, I can't remember how many feet, but it spanned the building. It looked big on the Superdome. So I said, well, bring it on. So four big crates arrived overnight, some airplane the next day. I called my friend Frank Hancock at Sport Graphics, and we problem solved to get that thing up to give people an iconic photo as they came to Indianapolis to enjoy the Eras Tour. So that's one that comes to mind that is really fun to remember, actually.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you brought that up because I forgot to mention that. Taylor Swift, what was that experience like? That was an amazing tour, obviously, and for the cities that landed those concerts was big. What do you remember about hosting Taylor Swift for multiple concerts, right?
Yeah, our concert business has really grown. I mean, we have 5 show nights this year, but Yeah, there's none bigger than Taylor Swift's Eras Tour and the 3 nights in November of 2024 that the whole community got to enjoy the benefit of. What I remember most is just the energy in this city. The people who had never been here, just the happiness, the police officers from IMPD handing out friendship bracelets, just the elevation of fun and joy that Indianapolis got to experience during those 3 days. Yeah, that's what I remember. That's what I'll always remember about that tour.
Yeah. Another question for you. Is there an area what's one area of Lucas Oil Stadium that most fans never get to see, but they'd probably really like to see?
Our catwalk is like a small city. There's a couple different levels of it. It's scary up there. It's high. When I go up there, I'm white knuckling it, holding onto the rail, but it is a breathtaking view. It's really stunning. And, it's unique in the city too. We get to work with Indianapolis Fire Department on their training from up there. They get to practice their high ropes training. And early on in my tenure here, some firefighter hero talked me into being lowered down onto the field from there. So that's a one-time thing. But yeah, that's something that the public will really never get to see except in photographs. The catwalk is exceptional.
What is there an event that left you saying, I really can't believe we pulled that one off?
Well, we talked about swimming. I mean, when you think about the vision to the end, yeah, you can look back and think, wow, that really was an accomplishment. And of course, the March Madness was another. But even more recently, one that really snuck up on a lot of people, and that's the WWE Royal Rumble in 2025.
Yeah.
Over 70,000 people from countries all over the world in all 50 states, who many of which had never been to Indianapolis before because WWE hadn't brought an event of that size since the 80s. And it was really extraordinary, too, to see the show that WWE has. It's different than other things we've done, but I'm really excited about the next two big ones with SummerSlam and WrestleMania coming back to Indianapolis over the next few years. That's a big get for us.
Yeah, as you look at that's a calendar of events, looking forward, I know there's as you mentioned, a women's Final Four, another men's Final Four, here in the next few years. Give us an idea. It seems like the sports calendar for Indy certainly is not slowing down. What's it gonna, look like? What are some of the biggies that you're looking forward to in the next couple of years?
Yeah, those two Final Fours, swimming trials, the two major WWE events, and then there's other stuff in the pipeline. But when we look at how we fill out the calendar, we really do, we're filling major trade shows that are citywide. Those are really important. There's the Colts, which is very important to this venue in particular and to our community. So those fill out the schedule. And then we work to get these great big sporting events that come a little bit later in the 5-year range. And then those concerts, those are a year or two out at the most, and then we fill in from there. So we have the full spectrum of events at Lucas Oil Stadium, and then we're part of a full spectrum of Indianapolis and of Indiana with Ruoff and Everwise and Gainbridge Fieldhouse and Old National Center, all the way up to Lucas Oil Stadium. So we can take an artist through their entire career in Indianapolis now, and that's really exciting to be a part of.
Yeah, I know it's interesting. I don't think a lot of people necessarily think of Indianapolis as a music city, but I was talking to a couple of event promoters, and they said Indianapolis really does have a reputation, with great venues and as a great music city or great concert venue.
Yeah, and it really does. We've developed that. There've been Live Nation has a huge presence in Indianapolis because of the venues that they either own or operate. Those are really important. And so Lucas Oil Stadium has to be part of that overall strategy, because if you're missing the premier venue, the big one to have the biggest tours, you're really missing out. And so I think us really leaning into concerts has helped all the other venues and our reputation as a music town as much as we are a sports town.
Yeah, as you look at that pipeline, if you will, in downtown Indianapolis, the ability to attract and to host big events, how important is it to have this new hotel inventory coming online? The Signia, of course, will be, I guess, will open yet this year, major addition to the downtown skyline, and there are other hotels in the immediate downtown area that will be opening. How big is that?
It is huge. to have the Signia and the ballroom that comes along with it, to be able to host multiple large-scale conventions and trade shows in Indianapolis at the same time or very slightly staggered, that is going to push activity to all of the other venues that are surrounding downtown. The demand for hotels is ferocious and continues to grow. I think that you will see continued investment in that for good reason. And I think as the Signia comes online and people really get a chance to see the impact beyond the radius of a block or two from that hotel and the impact that it has, that people are going to be really excited about what the future of downtown has in store.
Final question for you, Eric. Looking to the future again, let's say looking forward 10 years or so, what do you hope folks will say about Lucas Oil Stadium's role in continuing to transform Indianapolis as this premier sports and event destination?
Yeah, a couple things. Obviously, I want to be known as the place that a big event comes to. They will always want to be at Lucas Oil Stadium. I want to keep that desire from the event owners. And then I really want people to think that this investment in this very large publicly funded venue that we're in was a really great investment for the people of Indiana. And I think we've accomplished that to date in 10 years. I hope that the analysis that happens and the folks that study this use Indianapolis as an example of how it's done right. And I love being a part of it. And we have a great team that tries to deliver on that promise every day.
Well, I certainly appreciate you taking the time to join me on the podcast this week, Eric. Have long admired the work you do. It's very important, you and your team at Lucas Oil Stadium. I look forward to seeing you soon.
Thanks so much for the opportunity to talk today, Gary.
Okay,
great to see you.
All right. Great to see you, and look forward to seeing you soon. And thank you for joining us on this edition of the Business and Beyond podcast, presented by PNC. We are a weekly conversation with achievers in business, sports, entertainment, and beyond. And you can download all of our episodes and get Indiana business news 24/7. All you have to do is go to InsideBusiness.com. I'm Gary Dick. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.